Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Other World podcast and our forecast for the end of November and December. Hi, Fee, how are you going?
Hi, I'm good. I've been sitting in thinking I was very organized for today, and then I feel very what's that word? Discombobulated at the moment. So, yes, I'm here, I'm present. We'll see what unfolds. But yes, I'm good apart from that. Thank you. How about you?
Oh, yeah, I am good, but I'm looking at the sky outside and it's progressively getting darker. And the weather this week has been really interesting. And it's kind of like an ominous feeling that I'm getting just sitting here watching.
Yeah, this weather's been quite interesting, hasn't it? Very sort of dark and heavy, and it kind of in some ways has matched the energies that we've been sitting in as well. When it's wet and rainy, which it is here in Sydney at the moment, and it has been for a while, and it looks like it's going to be for a while yet. There's so much to do about bringing you inwards and focusing inwards, isn't there? Because
Oh,
you
absolutely. It's
can't get
very
out
much,
and about.
even though we're meant to be, moving into summer on the 1st of December, but it's the weather, I mean, it's heavy. It's that humid heaviness, but hopefully that'll clear for us.
Yeah.
I'll dive right in. Um, I'm going to, we're reading from the 29th of November through to the 5th of December. But I'm going to actually speak more to December because it's such a big month. It's such a big roundup month of 2021 and of so many cycles that I'll just give it a little bit of an outline as to what the major things happening are in December. And then as we move through December, our weekly readings, I'll go into them in more depth and I'll come back to the first week. We begin on the 4th of December with a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius. That's quite a biggie, and it's the end, as I said, of the cycle of eclipses in the Sagittarius Gemini axis of the wheel. And then we move into Taurus and Scorpio eclipses next year. On the 11th, another really big thing that happens this month is Venus has a conjunction with Pluto. Actually, there's two this month because, first of all, Venus crosses over Pluto in Capricorn. And then on the 19th, Venus begins her retrograde cycle. And she comes back to another conjunction with Pluto on the 25th. So on Christmas Day. So that's, Venus is the planet of love, of what we value. And she's in Capricorn. So Capricorn is probably what we put out into the world. It is it's ruled by Saturn. So it's structure. It's the patriarchal systems. And Venus going into retrograde and crossing over Pluto really brings that place of what we value and what we love in the world. And the retrograde cycle going through Pluto is there's a digging up of maybe some shadowy aspects of maybe what we've been putting out into the world, maybe where we've been focusing our love, where we've been thinking that the value or what we valued was somewhere and it actually wasn't. Kind of like, just to put it in simple terms, if we're valuing things, property, over relationships, that could be something that may come up. So anyway, there is this Venus cycle, this retrograde cycle that will go through January next year, but there's a big Venus thing happening in December for us to dive into. On the 23rd, the South and North node, which are our karma and our dharma, our purpose, what we brought in with us and what we're here to do in this lifetime, they shift from the Gemini Sagittarius axis into the Taurus Scorpio axis. So that's huge. This only happens every 1.5 years. So that's a big shift, and I'll get into that further as we go through the weeks. And then on the 24th of this month, it's the final square of Saturn and Uranus. That's a huge thing to end up the year. And they do kind of square or come very close to squaring next year. But this has been one of 3 absolute squares that have happened throughout this year. So there's been this unfolding story around rules and getting rid of rules. And where we sit amongst that, where we sit amongst the structure and the chaos. So this is a really big point to end off the year. So that's just to give you a little idea of December. Now I'm going to come back to this next week and what is probably the biggest thing that's happening this week, and that is the new moon solar eclipse. And as I said before, it's in Sagittarius. All of the eclipses since May 2020 have been in Sagittarius Gemini axis. So maybe go back to May 2020 and have a look at that 1.5 years. I mean, for everyone, that's been a massive 1.5 years. But just to, take a personal look, because we're at the end of a big cycle. And as we go into this new moon, there's an ability to round up that cycle and to then look forward. But we can't look forward until we've kind of looked back in a way with these eclipses. So it's a matter of kind of taking stock of what you've learnt and what belief systems. I mean, it was the Sagittarius Gemini axis, which is all around knowledge and beliefs. So maybe having a look at what's changed in your the way you look at the world, what you're believing, who you're following or not following, maybe what you've taken, what you've brought in a little bit closer. So I think pre-2020, we were all a little bit more trusting of what was happening out in the world. And I think everyone's kind of brought their worlds in a lot closer over the last 1.5 years. So maybe look at where you've stepped up and what you've let go of, what's shifted for you and where your biggest transformations have been. It's a really beautiful time, maybe even just to journal about the last 1.5 years. It's been huge, as I say, and there's a lot of things rounding off this month to then begin new cycles and take our new ways of being into our new world. So yes, just some contemplating where you're at in all of that. We do on the new moon has got aspects to a few different interesting places. One is to Mercury, and the card that I picked for the week, I got the Venom card. And so I'm pretty sure that Mercury is square this solar eclipse. So I'm thinking, watch your words, watch what you maybe say or how you say it, because it could carry a lot of venom behind it this week. Maybe try and hold your tongue a bit until the energies have cleared a little bit from this eclipse. And it's also conjunct with Venus. Sorry, not Venus, Vesta. Vesta is that our internal flame. It's kind of home or belonging for us, but in a very personal way. So that area of self, really making it personal. I mean, it's the last 1.5 years has felt very collective, but what personally have you discovered about yourself and how you want to move forward with what you see as really important, maybe your gifts and how you show up in the world. And this I want to check that aspect to Mercury. Mercury is involved, but I'm not sure if it's a square, because there is a square to Pallas, and Pallas Athena is the warrior or warrioress. And for the month, I picked the hunter. So there's a feeling of, I think this month's going to really push us forward. The first week, I think, is more about contemplating where the last year and a half has brought us to. And then there may feel, as the month goes on, this real drive to take that knowledge and push forward into creating from that place. I mean, Taurus, the Taurus Scorpio axis. Scorpio is the depths, and Taurus is about very much this world, earthing things, bringing things, manifesting things. So I kind of feel that hunter energy is going to be actually creating in this world from that new place of understanding. I'll pass it over to you now, Fee, after all of that.
Wow, feels like a big week and a big month.
Very much so.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I'm going to focus slightly differently, as we tend to do at this time of the month, and I'm just going to focus on the numerology for the week ahead rather than looking at the month. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we first started off, we were doing this pretty much the same, and now it seems to have shifted slightly for me. I don't know why, but that's okay. It is what it is. So I'll just work with it, with what I'm feeling into this week. So we are actually, from a numerological perspective, we're transitioning through week 48 of 2021. So this is in fact a universal 3-week in a universal 5-year. So when the 3 and 5 archetypes surface together, they kind of bring in the energies of creativity and change. So if you think of 3 energy as expectation, and 5 energy as the unexpected, for example, you can consider this as a time to conceive and birth new ideas. So it feels very much as if this week is all about, well, not all about, but partly about those energies. In fact, actually in the numbers, this is a really big week in lots of different ways. So 3 and 5 actually support the ultimate vibration of birth or pregnancy. So, you know, it's a great time to get pregnant if you're looking to get pregnant. If you're not, then be careful, because there's a lot of that energy around. But it is a week to expect when you actually don't know what to expect. So it's a bit of you know, this different energy. There's 2 sides to this energy that we're working with, but overall it's a very fertile week in which you can find that you're in a really creative space. You're sitting in a lot of creativity. So your imagination is likely to be opened up to new levels this week, and you'll feel incredibly inspired to birth something new. So if you've had something that's been sitting in the background for a little while, this is likely to be a week where it will come up to the surface, and you'll feel that inspiration to sort of start creating or bringing it out into the world. So you can think of this week as, I guess, disruptively creative in a good way. You know, it's going to bring things up and give you that support to birth something new. But we're also, of course, in the 9th week of a 10-week cycle where all the week numbers begin with 4. So this cycle, as we know, is coming to an end. This is the second last week. And I can certainly start to feel that energy shifting within myself. We're moving out of this 4 archetype, but it's still with us this week. So I want to bring it into the, into the numerology this week, because the 4 archetype is all about hard work and attention to detail, routine, determination, systems and how things work. And it's also where we find our sense of identity. So this energy can certainly feel like a hard slog, and it can be a little tiring to work with, especially if you don't have any of that archetype in your own personal chart. You know, I'm actually a birth path 4, so this energy is very familiar to me, and even I'm getting over it at the moment as it as we continue to work with this sort of hard-working, pushing energy. But, you know, let's have a look at it, because it is still here with us this week. So we're also, because it's week 48, going to be influenced through the 8 archetype. So this brings in, amongst other things, of course, the energies of power, of law, of money, ambition, success, social status. That's what the 8 energy is all about. And 4 and 8 together can either be really good bedfellows, or they can create a sort of strange and uncomfortable dynamics to work with. So together, they can help you to manifest what you want at the physical level, but they can also work in opposition with each other. So these two numbers are really, one of the things that they both have in common is the energy of entitlement, but they both work with that energy in a very different way. So the 4 archetype, you're really brought into the awareness of, I guess, entitlement through recognition for achievement, through all of your hard work, through all of your dedication to something and your attention to detail. So that's the way the 4 brings that energy in. And then 8 brings that energy of entitlement through the power of attraction. So it's more about, or it's less about hard work and more about, you know, attracting it in. There's no detail here. So it's all about you attract in what you want instead of striving for it. So they can work in opposition with each other in those ways. But both of those energies will in fact play an important part in manifesting what you want. But they have somewhat been, of course, misused through our patriarchal systems, and therefore they've become really imbalanced within us. So this is something that we are, of course, rebalancing at the moment around the world as we continue to shift in this paradigm. But you can think of this in another way. You can think of 4 representing the workers and working hard, and then 8 representing those who really prosper from other people's hard work. And then we can kind of see how that may have been playing out in our world. But when we're sitting in 8 energy, when we're sitting in the imbalance of 8 energy, it can feel very much like superiority and power over something. And then when we're sitting in the 4 energy, it can, if it's imbalanced, feel like disempowerment and not having choice. So the other side of these 2 archetypes is that they can also work in harmony. So 4 and 8 can be a very harmonious combination to work with, which is what we are really sort of, I think, creating in both our personal lives and around us in the world at the moment. We're trying to balance out our personal power and our relationship with money and all of these things that are very much associated with the 8 energy. And when they are in harmony with each other, then you can really create perfect balance and abundance and continuation of life. That's the infinity, you know, bringing in balance and harmony moving forwards. So the week ahead is really those 2 energies. It's going to be a very interesting week, and it's likely to bring up themes of working hard versus attracting in what you want, or even power and disempowerment. So it's actually, thinking about it, a great time to look at, I guess, where you may be feeling disempowered at the moment, you know, in your life, where you may be giving your power away to a situation or to other people. These are both masculine energies, so they relate to your mind and your thoughts and your beliefs. So if you are in a situation where you believe that you have no choice or you can't change something, then you won't be able to, because your mind will be guiding you. So I think it's a good, you know, good opportunity this week to take time to observe where you're sitting in terms of your own state of self-empowerment, or where you may feel disempowered, and notice what surfaces so that you can kind of reframe it or work with it differently. Where are your thoughts and beliefs keeping you stuck in limitation, which is very 4 energy? Or how can you align to new beliefs that will help you attract in what you want, which is very much 8 energy. So I feel like I'm kind of just scratching the surface of the energies of this week, but those are really the main themes, I think, to look for in the week ahead. And we're also, of course, in this week where we're moving from one vibration to another. And I'm going to focus on that a little bit more in next week's call. So that was really the numbers for this week. But again, a very interesting kind of week ahead, both I think with the astrology and the numerology, and a lot going on. It feels very much, I don't know if you're noticing this too, Denny, but it feels like as we get to the end of the year, everything's becoming a little bit more intense, and we're being kind of guided or pointed into a direction to really work through some things before we start the new year.
Oh, absolutely. With the end of the year happening, with the final squaring off between Saturn and Uranus happening at the same time as the nodes going into new signs. I mean, that within a day of each other, and Venus going into retrograde, they're huge events happening all at the same time. And I did. You were bringing up that the piece around the 4 and the 8. And that is something I often don't speak about when I look at the axis of Taurus and Scorpio, but that is very much the money axis piece. Clearing up in Scorpio, any stickiness we have around money, worth, value. And then in Taurus, really manifesting, making, bringing into your world, and it is money, and it's something that I've been working with this year, is cleaning up my money story. But I can feel that getting becoming more and more and more to the forefront as we enter this month. And I have a feeling that that's probably happening for a lot of people. The decisions over where we put our time and energy into making money, I think, is shifting for a lot of people. I think having belief systems of where we can make money, and the way that that's traditionally been, and the ways that we may be doing that moving forward. I think that there's a big shift taking part over 2021 to 2022.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I know I've been noticing that myself, and also I've been seeing that surface a lot with my clients as well. And it's been a big theme, and just this reworking or reweaving of our relationship with money and power, and what that actually means for us, both at a personal level. Well, actually, I would say almost all at the personal level at the moment, before we can take that out into the world and shift it at the global level, which is, of course, where we need to go with it. But we've got to heal these relationships we have within ourselves first. Otherwise, we're just going to go back into the same way of doing things. So I think it is pretty big, and it may even continue on next year. I mean, we don't know yet, but it feels as if it's definitely the energy of the moment, and one that, we're all working at, I think, in different ways.
Yeah, and a healing for the feminine around that, because I think that there is a lot of disempowerment in the world of money and the feminine. So I can see there being big shifts and a lot of work needing to happen to really go to those depths with the messaging and the belief systems before we can then move into the manifesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot that we're going to be experiencing next week, but there's a lot of support around that too. And that brings me to my card that I pulled. And I went for a slightly different deck this week. Well, not a slightly different one, a completely different one. Why I said slightly. And I pulled this card called the Hare. And this is from the Animal Magic deck, which is a transference healing deck of cards. And I really love this deck of cards, not so much visually, they're not the visual representation, but the energy of these cards is always really powerful. And whenever I pull one of these cards, the guidance from them is always really insightful. So today I chose the hare, and I've never drawn that card before, so that was really interesting.
You have, because you've pulled that for one of our readings.
Oh, have I? The hare as well?
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
gosh,
sure
I didn't even remember.
2 months ago.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we go. That's the, that memory thing that I'm suffering at the moment, which is a whole other podcast. But okay. Well, I have pulled this card before, clearly. But I had no memory of it. So the message that came through today then was purely for today, or actually for this week, for the energy of this week. And interestingly enough, hair is associated with fertility, which I talked about earlier on, but also with fear. So I felt that this card was really supporting you to overcome fears and help you regain faith. It also, I guess, awakens your creative talent. So again, it feels perfectly aligned to the energies of the week ahead. It's also a very intuitive card that kind of helps you to see behind the mask that people sometimes work with, so that you can uncover the true intentions of a person or a situation, or even of your own inner shadow. So it brings you the resources to, I think, resolve issues that surface, and then kind of finds ways of working with diplomacy and tact to communicate what you need to in order to find inner peace, which is something you spoke to, I think, earlier on, Denny, as well. So this card feels, I think, really supportive for all that's going to surface this week, and the themes that we're going to be working through this week as well. Isn't that funny? I have no memory of it at all.
I know it, and I remember it because I remember there was a little rabbit or hare that was hopping around outside my daughter, where my daughter is, and I remember bringing that up. So it was relevant. I think it was probably two months ago. So there's something around that energy and birthing that's happening, which is amazing. And we're going into a new moon. So new moons, regardless of it being an eclipse, is also a really new beginnings as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there's a lot of that new energy coming in, that creative energy coming in as well this week. It's, there's a lot coming in, and obviously we're not all going to feel everything, every one of those, but some of those aspects are going to be, I think, more prominent for some of us than others, which I guess is how it should be, really.
Yeah. Well, a big week and a big month ahead, but we'll break it down as we go.
Yeah, and I've got just a message from the Akasha that came in as well this morning, just for the week ahead. So the message this week was that the desire to work deeply within can sometimes cause you to forget to pay attention to your physical body. Move your body, sense your body, make your peace with your body. It is a sacred vessel in which you are able to exist. If you are sending negative thoughts to your body about its appearance or ability to be healthy, then you are asked to take responsibility for this now. When you don't love your body, you are part of the problem. When you love your body, you become part of the solution. So take care of your sacred vessel with loving thoughts and honor it for what it truly is, rather than some external perspective of what it should be. So an interesting message, and sometimes I feel like they're for me personally. And that one definitely was. But I know they're for everyone.
Well, not a bad thing when we're going into the silly season to be thinking about that.
Yeah, sure. And I think, sometimes we just don't honor our physical body enough, especially, when we're on our inner journey. It's all about what's going on within us and, our intuition and what's guiding us and all of that. We don't actually pay too much attention to the physical. So yeah, embodiment practices, everything like that would be really great, I think, to support that.
Beautiful. What a beautiful message to end on. So we'll see you all next week.